Welcome to We Are Old, Get Over It, the podcast where we celebrate the wisdom of age and maybe a little grumbling too. All right, so we're going to start the podcast now. I'm going to just introduce you guys and you can give a little background and then we'll kind of run through the notes that I had. And I noticed all of your changes to my notes, which is fine. I'm not upset by it, okay? And I understand that, Larry, that you were one of the creators of the Go Wish cards, correct?
Oh yeah, actually, part of CODA, the Go Wish cards were actually created by our administrative assistant and the medical director.
Okay, we're going to get into that in a few minutes, but let me just get started with the podcast. So, I always try to let the audience listen to a few of the things that we talk about in advance. So this is what they're going to hear, and from here on, we're just going to record. Okay, everybody comfortable? You have water, you have tea. We're good to go. All right, excellent. Today we're diving into a topic that many of us shy away from, but it's incredibly important for peace of mind. It's called advanced care planning, and I have two gentlemen with me today from an organization called CODA Alliance. And all that information is going to be available on the website. But I'm going to turn this conversation over to them. I'll just kind of interject a few questions as we go. And I'm going to turn it over to two gentlemen, Gary and Larry. Oh, I don't know if I should have done it that way. Larry and Gary. Well, anyway, the two of you. So who wants to start? Larry or Gary?
Gary, why don't you go ahead and start?
All right.
Okay,
Here we go, in Gary. Alphabetical order.
All right.
So, hi, good morning. I'm a hospice and palliative care physician. My background is that I spent most of my career working for Santa Clara Valley Medical Center, which is the county hospital in San Jose. I started out as a primary care physician, and after about 10 years there, branched out and helped to start the palliative care program. So that's me. I've known Larry for many years, since he was working as a chaplain at the hospital. And when I retired about 10 years ago, Larry invited me to join the CODA Alliance board. So that's how I got there.
Very good. Okay, Larry, it's your turn.
Hi, I'm Larry Wildemuth. I'm currently the chaplain at the Santa Clara Valley Medical Center. I served 5 years as an officer in the States Navy during the Vietnam War, not as a chaplain, but as a line officer driving destroyers off the coast of Vietnam. I got out of the Navy and went to seminary, was a pastor for 25 years. And then for the last 28 years, I've been a chaplain at Santa Clara Valley Medical Center. But one of the things that we found in the beginning when I was working there is that there was a real need to help families and patients talk about what's important to them at the end of their life. What do they want to have? What don't they have done? There was a movement across the nation by Robert Wood Johnson Foundation that funded a lot of end-of-life discussions. In fact, the state of California required end-of-life education for every physician during 1 year. And we got involved in training, helping them. We held trainings for clergy, social workers, elder lawyers, helping anybody that has contact with people in that time to how do we talk about it?
Okay, so let's define what advanced care planning really is. Who wants to take that question?
I think Gary deals with, top and palliative care a lot more.
Okay, why don't you take that one, Gary?
I'll say what advanced care planning is not, because I think a lot of people think that that if you complete an advanced directive, if you fill out a form and sign it, that you've taken care of your advanced care plan. really advanced care planning is a process that involves thinking about what things are important to you, um, what might be important to you if you were seriously ill and facing possibly the end of your life, and talking with the people who are important to you, your loved ones, about those values and about what decisions they'd want to make for you.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. For those who might want this concept, what exactly is it, and how is it so vital? And tell us about the CODA Alliance, how that was formed, and what its purpose is.
Well, CODA Alliance started just as an end of life group under the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. There were groups all across the nation. There was one in Santa Cruz and one in San Jose and one in Sacramento. I know this has gone all over the United States, but there were groups that were gathered that came together and trying to find out how we can help the medical field change. You know, the birthing field changed not because doctors thought it would be better to have dad in there and to do education of what it's like, but it started as a grassroots movement, and the education of birthing and what that process was like, and bringing the dad into the prepared childbirth model is what we thought would be a great model to bring into end of life planning, to understand, what's important to you, to understand, what the dying process is. Because sometimes people are afraid to talk to their doctors. They're either not knowledgeable or just intimidated to ask questions. And so uh, the medical director at that time, Dr. Elizabeth Mencken, founded a group of questions that we were able to work with, and we'll talk a little bit more about the founding of the Go Wish. But it was a tool to help people to just think about, because sometimes they don't even know what and what's important to them. And so, how do we begin that conversation was the real question that we wrestled with for years.
It seems also that what you've been doing is trying to come up with a means for families to have a comfortable discussion, and having the Go Wish cards, which we're going to talk about, or having a discussion with a physician and their family members about their end of life decisions is a very emotional issue. And people tend to avoid these things. It's like, well, nothing's going to happen to me, but anything can happen to anyone. So that's really what CODA Alliance is about, is getting people to think first about what they want, and then getting their important others involved in that so that they're comfortable with it and understand that this is what they want. Is that correct?
Yeah, can we take a step back, Ken?
Sure.
Because, if I think one of the things that I hear or used to hear a lot when I was practicing as a primary care physician is that I'd ask people, well, have you thought about what you would want if you got really sick? And a lot of people would say, well, yeah, I don't want to be a vegetable, or, you know, don't give up on me too soon. And that kind of statement leaves a lot of room for interpretation, right?
Right.
And so one of the things that we need, that as physicians and as healthcare providers, is a little bit more detail from patients and family members about what statements like that mean.
Right. So you needed
And
direction from them, and you need it basically in writing so that you
right,
know exactly what they intend to do, or
Mhm.
what their wish would be.
right,
Okay.
right. And a little bit more information about what really their values are. And the Go Wish cards serve as a really um, powerful means, I think, to help people delineate what things are important to them.
And if you go to our website, the first thing that opens up, it says responsibility, choose your own way, and embrace life. It's a matter of how do you want to live, um, because there are choices that we have, all along. And when you haven't had those discussions, talked to your loved ones about it, they and so yes, it's important to get a piece of paper, but it's just as important to have had that discussion. Just because if you're put on the piece of paper, I don't want this or I do want this, and you haven't told anybody,
Hmm.
it becomes very difficult because at that point you're not able to speak for yourself.
I understand. One of the things that I usually do is a quote. And we started talking before I gave out one of my quotes, and this is the one I wanted to start with, which was planning ahead is part of life. We plan for kids, retirement, and even vacations. But what about unexpected health emergencies? And that's basically what we're talking about here, because everyone knows that at some point our lives are going to end, but they don't know when it's going to end. And you need to plan for that. And it may not be comfortable, but it's something that we all have to discuss. Am I making a mistake on that, or am I correct?
Uh, I think it's yes and no. There are those traumas uh, that happen uh, with no notice, but there's also the disease process that happens, and all along the way, you're having to make choices of whether to take this route or that route, whether you're going to go medication holistic or not do anything because you've decided where it is and where I am in life. It's all right. I've lived my life. I'm going to minimize the symptoms, but I'm going to live out my life without major interventions.
Right. Well, I've had other discussions with people about advanced care planning, but what got me excited, I don't know if excited is the right word, but okay, what 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 perked my interest was the fact that the Go Wish cards were such a creative invention and how they can be used by anyone and the ways that people can use them from your organization, that they can use them on your website, they can use them on YouTube, they can order the cards themselves. So there's lots of ways to get to the people. But tell me how this all came about and how many languages it's in, because I know the number changed from 10 to 13.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Mencken found this set of statements, and she just put on 3x5 cards, and she was working in a skilled nursing facility, gathered patients times along with their loved ones, cards, and asked them to go through and to select the cards that were important to them. And so today, if you pick cards, Go Wish cards, you go through them and you sort them. And there are cards related to financial concerns, religious concerns, family concerns, all different areas of issues that are going on that sometimes you can, because we talk about financial things, do you have them in order? So if you got a diagnosis that that is terminal and going to be like you, but still it's terminal, some of your financial things in order. Oh, I need to take that card. I need to do that.
Okay,
But the wonderful
go ahead.
the
I'm
cards
sorry.
is next time to use that card, there are other cards I can use.
Okay, so I happen to have a set of Go Wish cards here. I'm going to put them on the screen so everyone can see them. It's like a regular deck of cards, not quite as thick. I think there are 35 cards, if I'm not mistaken.
36. Yeah.
Okay, I was only wrong by one.
35 and a wild card.
Oh, there is a wild card. Okay. That's not what it says on the back. It says 35. Oh, it says 36. Okay. My eyesight, I guess, isn't that great. Okay. So you can purchase these cards through your charity, or you can use your on-site, your website to actually do them. It's really up to the people. So this was an invention of someone, and each of these cards, as you mentioned, covers a different item. And how do you use them? In other words, I know how you use them because I read the instructions, which are on the inside. But in other words, you open up these cards or you go online, and how do you differentiate which pile the cards go into and how many piles do you have?
Gary, why don't you deal with that?
Oh, sure. So I happen to have a deck of cards in front of me too, Ken.
Okay,
So I'll hold them up.
perfect.
So I'll just do a couple of cards and show you, okay?
Perfect.
And I just want to say also, because I want to make sure we give credit where credit is due, that the statements actually came from a study that was done by a palliative care physician who asked, a bunch of patients what things are important to you, and
Okay.
these were the things that rose to the top.
Okay.
So the first card I have here is to have my family with me, and the instructions say when you're playing this by yourself to put this in one of three piles,
Okay.
either a very important pile, a not so important pile, or what is it, Larry? I've forgotten now. Very
I don't
Not
care
important,
about
somewhat
it
important,
pile.
not
No.
important. Right, exactly. So I'll put to have my family with me in the very important pile.
Okay.
Uh, the next card is to be able to talk about what death means, and to me that's not that important. I'm not big on talking about that.
Okay.
To meet with clergy or chaplains, say, goes in the very important pile.
Okay.
So that's what I'll do with all 36 cards. And when I get to the end of the deck, I'll take the cards that have ended up in the most important pile and pick the top 10. Most people end up with more than 10 cards in the very important pile.
Okay.
Some people end up with less than that, and if they have less than that, they're instructed to go to the next pile and take a couple of cards from that pile.
Okay.
So I have my top 10, and then from the top 10, I'll rate them in order from 1 to 10, with number 1 being the most important.
Okay.
And it's really important, listening. Is you need to ask the individual, tell me what that means to you, because I know what the words on that card mean to me. So there's one card that says to be kept clean. And recently we had a situation where, most people, oh, I want to make sure I get cleaned up or I'm shaved or my hair's, in order or whatever it was. And this said, no. He said, I'm an addict and it's important for me to stay clean during this process.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Words are important, and you don't
Absolutely.
always know what that means to somebody else.
Exactly. Exactly. That's really great. That's good information. And how long did you test these cards before you put them out to the public?
It was probably a year. We did focus group studies in a couple of different skilled nursing facilities. What's interesting, since then, there have been quite a few clinical studies to go with cards, and they're on our website. We try to provide as much clinical information because my medical personnel like that. It kind of verifies to them they have validity. And it's gone through 4 printings, and we have not revised any of the statements in those 4 different printings.
That's interesting.
And then you asked earlier, kind of exploded in the last number of years. It is now translated into 13 languages around the world. I think there are 3 online. The English, Spanish, and Japanese are online, and there's a couple other ones that are working online versions right now.
Okay. And oh, as far as your organization itself, that is a nonprofit, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So it's done. So you accept donations and you do charge for the cards if people want to order them, correct?
Yes, that's our only means of keeping them. That's our only means of support. We have all of our board are volunteer. We only have one administrative assistant who is paid The rest of us are all volunteers. So that's our revenue for printing the next set of cards.
Right. Okay. And how much do the cards cost now?
They are, well, you can buy them, individually, and buy them in multiple packets. We're just receiving our next printing right now, and those printing costs have gone up, so they're probably going to go up. But I think they're like $10.50.
Okay.
I haven't looked at the
Okay.
price.
So they're
We
about
do,
$10, $10 to $11
yeah,
per deck of
yeah.
cards, depending. And most people would just purchase one, correct? One
Yeah.
deck.
Actually,
Yeah.
there are other ways of doing more than one, but yeah.
I think the minimum you can purchase is two, if
Oh,
I'm not
really?
mistaken, Larry.
Okay.
But
I don't think Larry's
but
listening
the
to
more
us. He's
decks you
drinking.
purchase, the lower the price.
There you go. Okay. So,
It's nice, actually, it's nice to have two decks. Just saying that it's nice to have two decks because, it's a conversation game. So if one person has a deck, if I did it with my wife, we'd each have a deck and then we'd go through our decks and talk about the cards that are most important to us.
that's interesting. So, in other words, you would have a deck, your wife would have a deck, you'd sit across from each other, and you'd be doing your categories, your piles, and then both of be finished. Okay, and now you'll discuss what's going on. So it makes it an easier way for you to discuss with the people that you care about what your wishes are, basically. Correct?
Right.
That's right.
And that's the whole goal
Yeah.
of it, is to make you think about it. So
Yes.
then
That's right.
after you think about it, then the next step is what? So in other words, like I mentioned, I just did this with my wife, and I took a photo of the cards of the first cards, of the first 10 cards. And then I've held it aside for our kids so that we can have a discussion like that with them. So
Okay.
how is the best way to get people together to discuss this? Now, obviously, since I do this as my podcast, I've gone through a living will. I've gone through my requests for care and so on. But this is just another way to get it across to the kids who don't know unless they read the
Right.
document. So
Yeah.
it's just an easier way.
Right.
This is just an easier way to open up that discussion with your family, because it's not a happy discussion in general, correct?
Well, and the first is to have that discussion, but then secondly would be to fill out the paperwork, and
Of course.
and discussion with your surrogate decision maker. The surrogate decision maker is the one that you are empowering to speak for yourself in the case that you are not able to speak for yourself.
Right. I understand. So, of course,
So there's
like,
a
go ahead. I'm
number of
sorry.
things you
Go
can
ahead.
do with
Go
it,
ahead,
Ken.
Gary.
I mean, so one, it's obviously it's good to have the discussion with your decision maker, with your wife, whoever it is who you want to know these things. You could like you've made a copy of the top 10 cards. You could attach it to your advance directive now, so it's one of those things that's in there.
That's a great idea.
I don't know what the laws are in Florida, but in California, it depends on what state you're in, but in California, there's no set form. You can create an advance directive, and as long as it's notarized or it's signed by witnesses,
I
that's
think
your
Florida
advance
is
directive.
exact.
So you
Florida
can
is the
include,
same. Yes. Interesting. Okay.
you could share this with your doctor. You could say, hey, I went through these cards with my family, and I want you to know if something happens to me, this is kind of a working framework that I'd like you to work from in terms of what's important when
Well,
that time
I think
comes.
that's a very good statement, Gary, because a lot of the individuals have a meeting like every year or so with their physician. And if the physicians usually they ask you in advance, do you have this document prepared? So they have it in your file. And if you want to make changes based on what you see on the Go-ish cards, or just a general change in what you think, and those cards made you think about things, you can give that, as you said, over to your physician and say, I want to add this. and it may need to be notarized or something. I don't know anything about that. We have attorneys we can call and we can find out though. So I'm sure they're going to say, yeah, you need to have it done. Okay. All right. Anything else you want, any other advice you want to give people regarding the CODA Alliance and the Go-Wish cards?
Well, one of the unique things is that you don't have to buy the card. You're going to the website, and you can play the game. You can go save that set of cards online. And so if your decision maker is in another state, or you can email that to them, and they could get that, and then you could have the discussion over the phone. Many times, decision makers are in the same town as you are. Some people don't choose their spouse or their partner to be their decision maker because they just feel it'd be too great of a responsibility. That particular loved one doesn't feel comfortable. So find that person that you are comfortable with sharing this need, and somebody that you feel could speak for you, your wishes. That's very, very important.
Okay. So the main topic that we've discussed today is that you need to have this document prepared by someone. You need to have discussions with people that are important to you so that they're aware of what your wishes are. And the availability of the Go-Wish cards is the fact that it can help people to go through those decisions and then share those decisions with the ones that they want to be able to make the decisions when they are not able to do it. Is that correct?
Right. To me, the greatest gift, that 10 minutes of filling out that piece is the greatest gift you can give to your family. Because both Gary and myself have been in family meetings that are horrible. You have people that are disagreeing about, oh, no, mom wouldn't want that. She would want this. And the other one said, no, she'd want this. And you can create a gift and not have to have the family deal with that, struggle with that, not knowing.
I agree. And is there anything else you guys would like to add? Because I do have a quote that kind of goes with what you said, which is what I usually would end with. Go ahead.
I just want to add that most advanced care planning documents have two sections. One is choosing a decision maker for making your decisions. The other is the part where you make some sort of statement about what you would want. I think for most of us, the more important part, if you have someone that you trust, is choosing that decision maker and having discussions with them about what's important to you. I
Right.
think the other part of the advance directive is oftentimes difficult to interpret, and so the Go Wish cards help to facilitate those conversations that you would have with the person making your decisions.
That's great. Okay. Well, my final statement for this podcast is basically just what we were talking about. And this is I found this online and I thought it was a good statement to end the conversation with. It says advanced care planning is a valuable gift to yourself and your family. Very simple statement, which is what we've all just said during this conversation. And I hope that the audience takes the advice and goes to the website and has the bravery to go and discuss this topic with the people that they care the most about, that I'm sure will care the most about them. Anything else, gentlemen?
Thank you for your time
Sounds
and
great.
It's
getting the
my
word out.
pleasure. Hey, everyone. I wanted to just give you some additional information on the Go-Wish cards. This is the Go-Wish cards. This is what they look like, and you can order them. And I wanted to give you the information about CODA Alliance if you want to talk to them, or you want to order something from them, or you want to use their Go-Wish cards online. And this is the information that should provide the information you need now. Okay? And thank you very much for helping us out. And thank you for being a great audience. And that concludes this episode of We Are Olds, Get Over It. Thanks for joining me. I hope you found our conversation both insightful and entertaining. Remember, age is a journey, not a destination. So embrace the wrinkles, the forgetfulness, and the occasional tech frustrations with a good dose of get over it attitude. Until next time, keep laughing, keep learning, and keep getting over it. Ken out.